Hey guys, I want to preface this video by saying that we are all safe and okay. I got both horses out literally at lightning speed on the side of the road the second I saw all the smoke. I pulled them out as fast as I could, got them out, both dogs are safe, and we're all safe. So I just wanted to say that before the video starts. This video is supposed to have 2 rodeos in it. We only made it to 1, so I hope you... So I hope you enjoy the 1 rodeo, and I'll see you again at the end of the vlog. Hey besties, it is time to pro rodeo. So we have 2 pro rodeos in the video today. We are leaving in just a few minutes to go get Dakota, and we are taking Kite again as the buddy. Give Chester some more time, you know, out of the trailer, not hauling. Just some time to chill. So Kite's gonna go be the best buddy horse ever. This rodeo is about 4.5 hours away, and then I think the next one's about 2 hours away from that. So they're not too far away at all. They're both in Mississippi. I have my Beamer charging behind me. I'm about to go load it up, and then we will go grab the horses. Alright, so we are now at the barn, and I am going to grab Kite first. So Kite is going to be our buddy horse for this trip, since it is only about 4.5 hours away. That's not too far for him. So he is a really good buddy horse. Honestly, a lot calmer than Chester is, so he keeps Dakota really calm. I got his fly mask on off camera. Now I'm going to get his halter on, and I do take his crib and collar off in the horse trailer. I don't really ever see him crib in there. We do have a camera, but he's never really cribs in the horse trailer. There's not much for him to crib on, so I take it off for the ride to make it more comfortable with him. I never put him in cross ties or really tie him up with it on, because when they are forced to have their head up, that is when the crib and collar is tight. So I just take it off to make it more comfortable. You can see I put some alfalfa in his manger. He has no teeth, so I don't have a hay bag. He doesn't have any top teeth. He's never had any top teeth since I've owned him. So I just put some alfalfa in there, and he can just eat it really easy out of that manger. I'm going to get him tied up kind of loose and then do that panel. And now we are going to get Dakota. Same thing for him. I put his fly mask on off camera. And now I'm just going to pop that halter on, clip it there, really pet on him, and then we are going to go get him loaded up. And right now, while Chester is not in here, I give him that kind of middle spot with both spots open. So I just tie that panel back, and he has a much bigger space. He can kind of move his butt around as he wants, and he's just not as claustrophobic in there. So he does get kind of double the room almost, which is really nice. Here he immediately goes to eating that hay bag and chomping it all over my face. I'm going to tie him up too, and then I'm going to get that butt bar done before I get those doors shut, make sure everything is secure. And after about 4.5 hours of hauling, we have made it to the rodeo grounds. You can see it is dark outside now. I'm going to start by getting everything out of the stud wall. We were waiting for them to come unlock our stalls. So the horses are still in the horse trailer eating their hay. We're going to grab the stall mats out. Here I have a bale of Bermuda and a black bag full of alfalfa. So we're going to take that over to our stalls real quick. You can see my dad is also carrying our water buckets. There the alfalfa fell, so I just drug it the rest of the way. It wasn't too far from where we had the trailer to our stalls, so that was really nice. We're going to get the hay over here and get it in front of their stalls where we want to keep it, and I'm going to move the shavings that they put in here out of the way of the stall mats, because I do only have 2 stall mats. Someone asked why I don't put 2 in each stall. It's because I only have 2. So I put the stall mat in the back of the stall, so I'm just moving those shavings out of the way so I can put that stall mat in there as easy as possible. We're also going to unload that bale of Bermuda for Kite there, and I am back to getting my stall mats. I'm going to use the wagon to try and carry them a little bit easier. They really aren't that heavy. They're just really long and bulky and kind of awkward to carry. So I didn't want to carry both of them, so I just put them in the cart. Makes it super easy. I did walk backwards to make sure that one on my right there did not fall off. So that was a little funny. I did walk in reverse all the way to their stalls. Now that I have the stall mat to the stall, I'm going to put it towards the back in the bag, unzip it, roll it out, make sure I set that bag right outside. I'm going to take off the little Velcro strap that holds it together, and it's going to kind of start to unfold itself. So I'm just going to position it how I want it and start unrolling it. I try to push it all the way to the back, and usually the horses do love to stand on these. We'll catch them standing on the back on their mats instead of on the front on their shavings. So that's really interesting to me. But I like to push it all the way to the back and make sure it's exactly where I want it before I start putting shavings down. I got 4 bags for each stall, knowing I could get more if I needed them. So I'm going to put 2 bags back here on the mat, and then I will put 2 bags in the front. And I do really like that these are dirt stalls. They are not concrete stalls, because in concrete stalls the shavings slide all around and they're so much harder on the horse's feet. So I do really love that these are dirt stalls. I don't feel so bad about only having the 1 mat. So once I get all of these shavings dumped, we are going to spread them out with my pick. There's a look at them before we spread them out, and it was so dang hot and humid here. It was cold when we left our house, so I have on my tracksuit and like a Lulu base layer under here, and I was sweating. It was so hot and humid. So once I get all those shavings spread in what's going to be Kite's stall, we are going to do the same exact thing in Dakota's stall. Alright, now that we have the floor of the stall taken care of, it's time to get some water. I noticed that my water buckets were a little dirty, so I took them outside to spray them out. They just had a little bit of dirt and some hay in there, so I wanted to make sure I got that out before the horses drank out of them. I want them to be super good and clean. Dakota is very picky about his water. Kite, not so much. Kite does kind of like a little bit of dirty water, but he'll take care of that himself later. I'm going to carry them back to their stalls and put them in the corner and get them filled up. You'll notice later in the video, Dakota's water moves from this front corner to the back corner. That just had to deal with how he stood, and it made more sense for it to go back there, so I moved it back there later on. Once Dakota's water bucket was full, I fill up Kite's. I really like these because they hold so much more water. Now in a smaller stall, they're not as good as buckets just because your horse is more likely to poop in them, not gonna lie, but these stalls were big enough that they had room, and now that those were taken care of, it's time to get the horses in. I'm sure they were so excited and so tired of being in the trailer. So the first horse we're gonna back off is Dakota and get him cozy in his stall, and then I'll run back to grab Kite.
He's like, all right.
Now that all the ponies are cuddled up in their freshly bedded stalls, it is time to get hay. So I really just need to grab Dakota's hay bags out of the horse trailer. I grabbed his easy to eat one, and I had also hung up his hay chicks one. So I'm gonna grab that and carry it back to him. This summer I learned that I was not feeding him enough alfalfa, especially when hauling. Hauling burns way more calories than you think. So I now feed him 24/7 alfalfa all the time, even when we're at home. He eats more, obviously, whenever we are hauling than when he's at home, but he always has that option. So I'm gonna get that easy to eat hay bag hung up and pull his fly mask off because he's not gonna need that. And of course, Kite was mad that Dakota had alfalfa and he didn't. So I'm gonna throw Kite a flake out of that black bag there and pull his fly mask off as well and pet on him a little bit. Now I am going to grab a zip tie out of my horse trailer and also Kite's cribbing collar because, you know, Kite's about to get to cribbing if I don't. So I'm going to grab a zip tie so I can hang up the hay chicks hay bag. I'm going to put that zip tie on the back of his stall up on that bar. The zip tie is just super sturdy. Whenever I hang the hay bag up, I'm not worried it's going to break. You can also use hay string for this. Usually the bars at shows are too wide to hang them on, and I don't want to hang them too low, so that's why I do that. Now I'm going to get Kite's cribbing collar on. You will notice that Kite's collar looks loose when his head is down, but I can assure you it is tight when he goes up to crib. It does not need to be tight all the time. They need to have some relief from it, so when he puts his head down, it's loose, but when it goes up, it is tight and it's not letting him crib, I promise. And now, after a few hours, it's time for them to eat dinner. So here I am scooping Dakota's feed, getting it in his pan, and I had to open this new bag of feed for Kite. So it was a little harder to scoop because it was so full. He gets about a scoop and a half. I'm going to cut him back a little bit even later in this video because he's looking like a pretty chunky monkey. Not gonna lie, he is 25, so I don't mind that he's a little bit fatter, but sheesh, he is quite chubby. So I'm going to get Kite his feed first and kind of pet on him, which he didn't like, obviously. And then I'm going to get Dakota his, and he wanted me to stand there and hold it for him, of course, but I could not do that. And like I said, it has been a couple hours since the last video, so I'm going to get him some alfalfa into his easy-to-eat bag. He had to taste test that too, of course. Anything I bring in here, he's got to make sure it doesn't taste better than what he's already got. So I'm going to load that hay bag up, and he is going to continue to eat out of the top of it before he goes back to his feed. And I'm also going to make sure that his hay chicks bag is full for the night as well. So I'm going to put, I think, just a flake in there because it was pretty full, and this bag slows him down quite a lot. So I'm going to get that in there, get it tied, and get it hung back up. Alfalfa is literally so heavy, but I'm going to get it up there, and after a while, when I know he's been done eating for a little bit, we are going to go back and I'm going to get his halter on so we can take him for a walk. And I promise we'll walk Kite tomorrow, but tonight I'm just going to take Dakota for a walk. It wasn't a super long haul, but I always like to get them out after they've been in the trailer. I don't like to just shove them right into stalls usually, so I'm going to take him into the warm-up pen and walk him around for a good while. There were some cows in the stock pen over to the right there, so we are avoiding that. He acts super spooky about cows. He's worked cows before, but they're obviously the most terrifying thing on the planet. So to avoid some spooking, we're just going to go over here and calmly walk around by the bucking horses. There you can see one bowing to get hay that's on the other side of the fence, even though I'm pretty sure they did have some hay in there. So I'm just going to walk him around, let him roll if he wants, get him really stretched out. He's going to look at literally everything possible just to make sure he doesn't need to spook and run off from it.
Who are you talking to over there?
Please don't make him jump into the
Into me or the barrel?
Once I get Dakota back in his stall, it's pretty much time for bed, so I'm going to give Kite his hay. I'd throw him more if he would eat it, but he won't. So I'm going to throw him his Bermuda for the night. There, Dakota's begging. The horses are eating breakfast and the birds are super loud. But we'll come back in just a little bit to nebulize Beamer. Got a braid and saddle. We're up in the morning slack here in Starkville, so it's getting close to time for us to run. So we are going to do our pre-run routine. I'm going to start by getting Dakota tied up. He's had plenty of time to eat, don't worry. And then I'm going to get his Beamer on. So I get the Beamer blanket on and the leg cuffs on, and I put them on the second setting. So that is what I am doing here. The Beamer is going to help warm him up. It's a PMF blanket pretty much. And then I'm going to do the nebulizer. I've started keeping my little medicine cup in a little Tupperware container. I think I'm going to do that from now on. And I just put some silver in there and get that on his head and put that on the fastest setting. So it runs pretty quick. And I just got a new medicine cup after using the other one all year, and this one is running so much faster. So how interesting. When the nebulizer is done, I'm going to pull that off, and we are constantly cleaning their stalls, so we're going to pick it a little bit while that Beamer is finishing up. I think it took the Beamer about 15 minutes. When the Beamer's done, I'm going to go in, look at the arena, kind of look at the situation here. I've run Chester in here, but I've never run Dakota in here. Now I'm changed and ready to rodeo, so I'm going to get him tied back up and start grooming him so we can get him saddled up. I'm going to brush everywhere the tack goes, under his stomach, where the boots go on his legs, and I brushed his chest just because they like that. I'm going to throw on my saddle pad, and then I'm going to throw on my saddle. You can see it has a saddle cover on, so we're going to pull that off in just a second when I make sure the saddle is exactly where I want it. And then I'm going to make sure the cinches are just where they need to be for Dakota, and tip my saddle pad to get it off his withers. Once I have the cinches at the right length, I'm going to do them up pretty loose because I will tighten them right before we get on to warm up, and then I will tighten them again before we go to run because he will kind of constantly be blowing some air out of his stomach. Once the saddle's on, I'm going to get the matching breast collar on. It looks so good with this saddle. It's just black and says Master on it, but I think it's perfect. It matches so well. Once I have the breast collar on and I have it clipped, I'm going to keep picking out his stall. And then we are going to pick his feet before we get the sports boots on. There really wasn't a whole lot in there. Just some shavings, which was nice. Made it a lot easier for me than it can be when they have a bunch of stuff packed in there. But it was pretty simple. Just some dirt, just some shavings, nothing too bad. And once I get all of the feet picked, we are going to get his sports boots on. He runs in all 4 sports boots, and I chose the cowhide print for today because I thought it would look cute and it wouldn't like clash with my shirt too bad. And I think I put a white flare strip on him, so everything just matched really well. Like I said, I run in all 4 sports boots, so I usually get the front boots on first, and then I will go to the back, and you will see me tie up his tail. This is just because it gets in the way. I untie it as soon as the boots are on. I just don't like it when it's hanging down and getting all in the Velcro and just messing with my flow here. So I tie it up just for the time being. I really also wipe his legs with my hands. I said I brushed them. I did, but I also use my hands to make sure there's no shavings or anything under there that I missed. Once all of the leg boots are on, I'm going to get his bell boots on, and then we are going to do a last minute braid of his hair. I totally did not forget that I needed to do this. I don't know what you're talking about. Totally remembered it 100%, but I just did some big braids on him. Nothing too crazy. His hair is so long, so 1, it can make him pretty hot, and 2, I don't want to accidentally snatch it with my hands around a turn, because that always makes me feel terrible when that happens. So I just like to get it out of the way into these nice big braids, and I use a little elastic to tie them off. Now it's time to go warm up. You'll see that I realized something was wrong with my helmet strap. It was kind of tangled up, so I'm going to fix that while we're walking around here. And I did leave pretty much my whole warm-up uncut. I cut some of the walking out, but I do walk for a long time, making sure he's really stretched out before I ask him for a trot. But I decided to leave pretty much my whole warm-up uncut in here so you can see exactly what I do before a run. He was so good during our warm-up. He was super polite. He does not like those cows. Those bulls are still right over in that spot. So every time we went by, he would kind of give them the side eye, but he didn't get too quote-unquote scared of them until he knew we were right about a run and he had that adrenaline pumping. But I'm just going to walk for a while, let him see everything, and just make sure we don't get run over here. And then I will ask him for a trot, and I do post the trot on him. I will not trot him for a long time. It's fairly hard on their joints, and I'm just getting him warm enough to run, not a full-on, hard workout here. So I'm going to trot laps both ways. I think I did one each way, and I will cut through the middle to change directions. That way I don't have to stop and turn around. And these warm-up pins are so chaotic, but this one had plenty of room, which was super nice. It's always nice when there's a lot of room. Some of these are the smallest pins you've ever seen, and then 100 of us have to warm up. It's awesome. So I was really thankful that this warm-up pin is super big. And then he actually, when I tried to change directions in the trot, wanted to lope, and I didn't want to fight with him too much over silly things before we ran. So I just let him lope for a little bit, and then eventually he broke down into that trot, and I was fine with that. I didn't want to fight too much, so I'm just going to let you watch our warm-up.
Sadie Miller, Jonesboro, Arkansas. Still the 1308s out front, Caitlin Nicholson. I think there's a 1312, 1314. Top three right now, unofficially. 1318. Katie Chet, be ready.
Y'all, okay, so I sat a little too soon at the first barrel, and he really cut up on me and popped me up, which I didn't really move, but it was very rough on him, so we weren't able to get by the first barrel enough to turn it, and I felt bad that I had to pull him to get over to the second barrel, but I really thought that we were going to break the pattern, and somehow, even with that, he clocked a 13.6, which when the rodeo is over, ended up only being 4/10 away from what the last place was paid. And so he was running so hard. He felt so good around that second barrel. That was actually the first run with a new bit too. The new bit had nothing to do with the first barrel. I actually think it made it easier for me to get him over to turn that second barrel, because even with a horrible angle to the second barrel, he whipped around it. He turned it so well. So I'm sad to know what our time would have been had I not run around the world of the first barrel, but I was still happy with him. That was our first run in like a month. So now we're about to run quite a bit more and more consistently, so I'm a little excited for that. I got all of his tack off, got him a drink, and then got him in the wash rack because it was almost 80 degrees, which was super exciting, and I cold hosed his legs. I also tried to spray some sweat off of him, but the water pressure was not quite good enough for that, but I tried to spray the sweat off of him too. I cold hosed his legs for probably about 10 minutes, I'm not sure, a long time, really cooling him off, make sure I really take care of his legs. Gave him a little drink through the water hose, which I'm sure he just loved. I mean, he stood there, so he didn't hate it. He kept acting like he wanted to take the water hose, so gave him a little drink. Here I am trying to get some of that sweat off. He really only sweat around his neck, chest, and where the cinches go, and then I just cold hose from the hock down and from the knee down, making sure I'm really cooling off his legs, especially because he does run in sports boots. And of course he got so many treats because he did so good. And then a little while later we took him and Kite to go walk around the warm-up pen after everyone was done using it, and they both had to roll, of course. And then Kite wanted to go see if he could eat some of the Bermuda that the buck and horses were eating, because I'm sure it tastes so much better than his Bermuda. A few hours later, I got into my horse trailer so I could grab Dakota a electrolyte tube. I keep my tubes of race recovery in this little hang-up bag. It's super handy to get. It is now a few hours after we ran, so I'm going to give him a tube of electrolytes. I use race recovery, and he hates it. So.
He's like, oh dear.
No, you're not leaving. Okay, you are leaving. Pretty much all that's in this.
All right. In there, and I can.
Okay. I know it ain't got hot. Make sure you don't have a bunch of hay in your mouth. Yay! Take this down. And should we eat?
Maybe we'll.
While I still had his halter on, I just tied him up real quick so I could clean his stall. Like I said, we were constantly cleaning their stalls, making sure they were super nice for them. I don't want them just standing in dirty stalls. That's not cool at all. So we cleaned them several times a day, getting everything out of there pretty much as it happened because we were so on top of it. Dakota peed a lot, so I did always have to take out quite a bit of shavings from there, and then I'm always going to bring the shavings down that he's pushed up onto the wall, see what he's hiding in there, and push them back so he has them to stand on. He is always moving his shavings around and always moving them up the wall, so that is what I am doing here. We are supposed to be in Starkville for a couple of days before we leave for Jackson Slack, so I want to make sure the horses stay super comfortable while we're here. Give Dakota a lot of kisses when I let him go. Kite was begging, so I gave him some alfalfa. He had already had all the alfalfa I wanted to give him that day, so that's why he just got a little bit. Okay, it's time for dinner, obviously. And while they eat, I am going to braid Dakota's tail and put it in a bag so we can poultice his legs for the night.
He seems like he'll eat it. look at his ears.
Mean.
He's so mean.
Really? Eat over here. Hi, and what he's
Done?
Yeah. But we're not doing this to make it pretty, just doing it to get it out of the poultice. He's got a lot of goodies in here from being outside. Tail bag free. Actually, maybe running got some of it out. Maybe it blew out in the wind. I'm just gonna do a 3-strand braid. He really needs a bike. Cutting the circulation off to my finger.
Ooh, it is red.
Anyhow, and it's like, that kind of hurts. And then I went there. Hang on, don't move. Don't go nowhere. I know, I can feel you thinking about it. Gorgeous. You ready for bed? After I get up, I guess. Now it's the next morning and that ice-type poultice has been on his legs all night, so it's time to rinse it off, and it cooled off significantly this day, so I just threw on my fleece blanket on him to keep him a little bit warmer while I rinsed his legs off. I wasn't really worried about him being cold, but I just wanted to be sure, so I threw on that little fleece blanket, and now we're just going to rinse that poultice off. It usually comes off super easy with water, and what I don't get off, I can brush off with a hard brush pretty easily, so that's nice. I don't do this whenever it's super cold, because when it's too cold to rinse off, I don't think I can get, the bulk of it off with a hard brush. I do think I need the water, so I really only do the poultice in the spring and summer when it's warm enough, and that's just what we do. I think you could poultice in the winter and just really get a good brush after it, but I just do not. I do like to cold hose it off because, again, that gives him another round of good cold hosing. I really need to take care of their legs when they run like that, so that is what we do. So the cold hosing is really, really good for his muscles. Once I'm done with that, I'm going to take him for a walk around the arena, stretching him out again, letting him look at everything again, because of course he's never seen it before, even though he's been in there what feels like 100 times now. So I'm just going to get him really stretched out, take him for a good walk. I'm not going to let him roll in his blanket. He's rolled plenty, I promise, but I just did not want him rolling around in this fleece blanket in this nice red dirt. I would have just loved that so much. So I'm just going to walk him around and really get him stretched out since he's been in that stall and he ran the day before. We did decide, since the rodeo was over and the stock had been picked up, to put the horses out in the stock pens. Now, these were the pens that the bulls were in, and I was a crazy person going around to every trash can back here to find out what they fed the bulls, because there are some cow feeds that are toxic to horses. So I found, I think, every feed sack and read them to make sure that the horses were safe to go in here, but they had so much room, which is so awesome. They got to really walk around. We put their hay out there and their water, of course, and they got to stay out there for several hours. And while they were out there, I did clean their stalls really good. It's much easier to clean their stalls when they are not in them, but they got to stay out there the whole day walking around. I think Kite and Dakota even trotted around some, which was nice. There's plenty of room to do that while I got their stalls cleaned really, really good. Okay, so we've had the horses over in those cow pens since the stock was gone. So they've had all of that space to walk around all day, literally all day. And we leave so early in the morning, so we are going to go ahead and grab their stall mats out of their stalls and just bed them up with shavings. That way the stall mats are already in the trailer, so that is what we are going to go do. So we're going to bed up their stalls and get them back in. They were out in those big pens for several hours today, but it gets kind of cold and the wind runs through those pens, so I'd like them in their stalls where they're a little warmer, a little more comfortable. And then we go to Jackson, Mississippi super early in the morning, so trying to make it as easy for us as we can. Also shout out to Trisha Aldridge for the beanie because it is so cold. So we are gonna go break down the stalls and get them back in. Well, break down the stall mats and then get the horses back in the stalls. I'm gonna try to not put that I've expired stall mat bag. I do want to say at this point we were like the only people still at the horse park, so So these stalls were completely vacant. There were no horses in them. There were not going to be any horses in them. So I would not have sprayed the stall mats here otherwise. It was just really the only good spot to spray them, right by the water hose. So I'm going to spray them off. They're really easy. Stuff just slides right off of them, which is super nice. They weren't just too disgusting, which is always great. But I'm just going to take that water hose and run it over them. And then I'm going to let that first one dry while I start scraping the shavings off the second one, just like I did with the first one. Once I scrape the majority of the shavings off, I just pick up that stall mat and let the rest just fall. Really easy, kind of shake it out and then pick it up and carry it to the water hose. I'm going to spread all these shavings back out that I got off the mat. I smell like horse pee really bad. And then we're going to add 2 bags of shavings in here and 1 back into Kite's. He put more shavings. This is nice and soft.
Edge of shavings against the back wall.
Yeah. Yeah.
More per bag. I also like that they're so fine.
Now that I have the stalls rebedded and given the stall mats time to dry off quite a bit, it's time to get the stall mats into their bags. So I'm going to start by rolling them up as tight as I can. It's pretty easy because it has those slits in it to help you roll it up. And then I'm going to get that Velcro strap on there and zip them up into their bag. I need to get new bags for these stall mats. They broke pretty quick, I'm not going to lie. That's my only complaint about them. But I'm just going to zip them right up into their little body bag. Super easy. Dragging those stall mats out into the dry gravel so when I roll it up, they don't have a bunch of wet red mud on the back of them. And just get those into the back of my truck so we can drive them over to the trailer and get them loaded up and packed into the stud wall. After we got the stall mats loaded, I decided to turn Dakota out into the big arena so I could buck around and play. Kite has this whole area too, and then Dakota has the whole arena.
Right here?
Yeah. That's not much effort. Trying to get him to run. He ran a bit, but now he won't run. And Kite's just eating alfalfa that was left in that bin. He's so fat. So fat. My Liberty Pony. Yay! Yeah!
Maybe he's gonna roll. Is that a line? There we go. Maybe he'll roll.
Trying this myself, obviously. Please don't go out the bird.
Yeah.
He's a girl. What are you doing? Well, that was fun. The next morning we were supposed to load up and head for Slack and Jackson at 6 a.m. and we had a bearing go out, which we had just had them checked. I swear we have them packed and checked at every mile we're supposed to have them. I don't know why it went out, it just did, and it caused a lot of smoke, and it was really close to starting a fire. So I got the horses out as fast as I could because I didn't know if a fire had started or not, but it was quite traumatic. So I did not vlog very much of it, obviously. Well, that did not end how it was supposed to. I have a full story time on my shorts of exactly what happened, but one of our bearings, like I said, went out. We had just had it packed and checked. Just happened. So they told us we needed a new axle after this. I think we're gonna be okay with that one for now. We had our person look at it. We fixed the tire and everything, and thankfully it did not bust into full-blown flames. We had the fire extinguisher out. I had the horses out on the side of the road, but we were able to take that tire off, limp it to a shop there, and get it fixed up enough for us to get home. So that was super nice. Hopefully the next vlog is a little more fun, but I hope you enjoyed this video. I have new merch up on the website, which is super cool. I think the designs are super cute, and I'll see you again in a new vlog very soon. Bye.